This is Times Radio.
Hello, and thank you for joining me. This is Ria Lina. You're listening to Times Radio. If you've just joined us, if you were with us before the news, I was talking to Karina Spalding from the Reading Agency, who has a whole bunch of new quick reads that are coming out on April 23rd from all good bookshops. So go and keep a lookout for those. But if you want to pick up a quick read now, they're already those from last year still available in the shop. So have a look. There's some great ones there. But now for some business chat. Joining me in the studio is my CEO of the week, Ulf Persson, CEO of intelligent automation company ABBYY, but
That's
with an
correct.
extra Y on the end. So I wasn't sure if it was ABBYY.
No, it's ABBYY.
Just ABBYY. Now, ABBYY is a leader in intelligent document processing, working with behemoth businesses like Siemens, PepsiCo, and Deloitte.
Correct.
Now, explain to me a little bit about what intelligent document processing is, because I come from the time where that's what we used to do as interns in the office. Is we go in and do all the data entry.
Yeah.
I don't know how intelligently we did it, but we certainly filed things in places that people may or may not have found again.
Well, you're right. You're spot on. It's intelligent process automation is a very dry way of explaining how you can find, sort, classify, and extract information from vast amounts of data. It could be in a business document, could be in an invoice, could be a driver's license, could be a payslip, whatever. And you put it into a process where it needs to go. That could be a decision-making process. It could be a payment process. It could be a claims management process, or whatever it is. But we expect, effectively, we are releasing information from, or data from, we're setting it free. Exactly.
Okay, I'm going to be honest, that sounds suspiciously like AI, the way you phrased all that.
It's a good point. I mean, AI for us is a contributing technology or set of technologies on how we do this.
Okay.
And AI has been around for a long time, for decades. Now, it's not been as topical as it is right now, and we'll get back to that. But we've used AI for probably 20 years to extract and classify information.
That's interesting, because I think a lot of people feel that it's something that's just come up very suddenly in the last 12 to 15 months. I'm sure everybody at some point or another has used one or the other of the large language models that are out there to either write an email or do their homework. If my kids are listening, they're probably not. But you've worked in AI, though. So if you've worked with AI for 20 years, can I just quiz you on AI? Because there's a lot of questions that we all have about this. Are we all losing our jobs?
I wouldn't think so.
So
I wouldn't
relief.
think so. I think AI has been around, but what most people refer to when they talk about AI these days is what we call generative AI, where you have large amounts of data being processed by ever increasingly difficult algorithms and models to extract and understand information and then create information. So you can create text, you can create music, you can create pictures, you can create movies, as we've all seen. That's what people are generally referring to. But as I said, parts of the AI tech stack has been around for a long time.
So have we all been using AI all this time? Where has AI been in our lives when it isn't creating a picture from seemingly nothing?
I think it has been to a lesser extent consumer facing, so we may not have seen it as consumers, but under the bonnet of some of the tools that we're using, we've definitely had AI. And as I said, finding information, extracting information from business documents has been done with the help of AI for quite a long time.
So that sounds reasonable to me, is if you go and if ABBYY goes into Siemens, for example, and says, let us help you gather all the data you have within your business and reprocess it however you wish to process it within your business, that to me seems safe and absolutely fine for that business to do. But a lot of people are scared about what the ramifications of scooping up large amounts of data like that could infer for the rest of us. And what does that mean for our own personal data? I mean, do you feel in the position that you're in, understanding AI as you do, that we can trust it?
No, I think you're absolutely right. There's a general concern, and I think that concern is more about what we call the general purpose models. And then you have more specifically oriented models that are trained on data that is very specific for it could be legal documents, it could be sports, it could be something else, where you can much easier control what comes in. And that way you can also control what goes out. In the general models, it is indeed difficult. You have all heard of the word hallucinations, that the model will throw out something that doesn't exist. And that is in turn very difficult to audit. There we have a big challenge, indeed.
That's really interesting that you talk about what goes in and what comes out, because one of the issues with AI is that it tends to it reflects the biases of the data that it's trained on. I mean, that is its limitation, isn't it? In some ways, that's our safety catch. If we don't feed it too much, it can't hallucinate too much. We've seen bias already. We've seen
Yes.
in job markets, we've
Yeah.
seen that some people are pushed forward for jobs because of their names. So where's that heading, do we think?
I think what is happening right before our eyes is we have a technology that is developing at breakneck speed, and we have a regulatory and audit framework that has not caught up in the same vein. And if you think about it, it's quite natural. The regulators are typically governmental, and governments don't move as quickly as the entrepreneurial world. And we're seeing an increasing pace of development in AI, and we're not seeing that increasing pace of development in regulatory frameworks. The United States taking a slightly different, less hands-on approach. And then you have China, who have said that we are going to be, in 20 years, we're going to be the world's most dominant power in AI. And that's probably also through a very carefully crafted regulatory frameworks. But the interesting thing is that AI is global. We can have a European framework, and you can have a US framework, and you can have an Asian framework. But you mentioned a number of companies, they all work in all markets. And the data doesn't know whether it's from China or it is from Sweden or it is from the UK or it is from America. At the end of the day, what we need is, I think, a very global set of policies and a global chart of how we deal with AI as companies that are on the production side, but also on the consumer side.
I mean, that's a very good point, but have we even got that with the internet yet? I mean, we've been talking those sorts of issues with the internet for a good 30 years now.
Interestingly, we were talking about that in the waiting room, and no, we haven't. We haven't really. I mean, we all see the problems with social media. You tend to be in an echo chamber if you have a certain set of beliefs. You listen to and you follow people who have the same beliefs, and you are then, through the algorithms, you are recommended people of the same view. So you don't get the breadth of information, and you don't get challenged. Same with Spotify, although I think that's probably better now. But you listen to David Bowie, and then you get Bowie-like songs, or you get people who are in that orbit, rather than something that's completely different, that could teach you to look elsewhere.
You know what? I've said this before in times already. I'll say it again. I don't have Spotify, so I don't have that problem, but I've heard about it. But surely isn't the answer just to be able to click a button and say, play me random stuff? Sometimes you do want an algorithm. There are times where I have the music app through my phone, and there are times where I play the 5 songs that I like, and it gives me exactly what I want after that, and I'm very happy. But surely we just say, just show me anything.
No, you can. That's not
You can. You can do that. Yeah. Okay, that's a relief for my ears later. Tell me a little bit more about ABBYY.
Yeah, as I said, the focus of what we're doing is really extracting information from documents and business documents and making that available in further business processes. But the interesting thing is, with the advent of AI, is what used to be fairly back-end oriented business is now much more on the front end. So if you are a consumer, you're looking at bank loan application, or you're looking at the claims process, insurance claims process, and instead of compiling all the documents and taking photos, printing them out and sending them in an envelope to your insurance company or broker, or you go to the bank for a bank loan and putting together all the documents you have there, you now do it with your phone. So effectively, you have your phone, you scan your payslip, you scan your passport or ID card, you scan something that shows your address, where you live, and that gets into your loan process, and the relevant information is extracted and used. And better still, if on the back end you have an AI model that can control all the information that you have given them, but also run that against other data that is linked to your person or your address or your social security number or your credit history, you can make that a very easy decision. Rather than having days or weeks going into this, you can do it in an hour.
And when the answer is yes, if you're applying for that bank loan or that bank account on your phone, which you can do, you can just download an app and have a bank account within an hour. As you said, that sounds like a marvelous thing to the consumer. But what scares me about that is that you didn't once mention any kind of human eye passing over my application. I mean, I'm a stand-up comedian. I have the most weirdest and wonderful accounts that if you give them to a machine, I'm sure that the computer would say no. But when I am able to go in, as I did the last time that I got a bank loan, which I think was years ago, to go to the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, I went into the bank and I spoke to a person and they understood how and why that worked. And I was able to explain to them the finances. I don't know that I would have gotten that if it was just being decided by AI.
Maybe you wouldn't, but I think there are ways to always improve the models. There's the importance of the regulatory framework, how you can audit and understand the actual underlying models, how you understand the data that goes into it. So all of that has to happen, and to a large extent it's already happening. But I think if we can do that for 80-90% of the cases, that leaves time and availability for the remaining 10 to 20%, which may be a little bit more difficult, and you can have human beings deal with that. That must be much better than having human beings deal with everything, and you don't have the time to dig deeper into the more complex cases.
I suppose it depends on whether or not you're a people person. We're trying to, in theory, you're getting through more applications faster, and then just having a human eye on the slightly trickier ones.
Exactly.
But I think I know for myself, and probably a lot of listeners out there will have had that frustration of being unable to even reach a person at the other end.
I know. I'm the same. I had a renewal for one of my service providers at home, and I just couldn't find a way to renew it online, and I couldn't get hold of a person. But I actually wrote an email and then had someone contact me, so that was good. But yes, but that's the balance you have to find as a consumer-facing company. You have to use AI and automation and technology where it helps you, but it shouldn't really make the service worse. It should make the service better.
And I'll be honest, that sounds like I love the European in you that says that, because I feel that well-intentioned coming across. But I do know, we all know that there's some companies that are using this to just volume up. I like a person. When I have a problem, I want to be able to know, like you said, you were able to write an email. Great. But sometimes we're still chatting to that AI chatbot, which is nowhere near as advanced as even your algorithm for collating invoice data, I'm sure.
That is true. But you imagine 10 years ago, you couldn't do that. Or 5 years, it was much worse. Where are we in 20 years? Where are we in 5 years? I think that the quality of the models is going to develop. I think that we will sometime, maybe in 5 or 10 years, we won't even see a difference between whether we talk to a person or we talk to a robot. One thing that I wanted to point out, there's something that we call at ABBYY, and I know others do it as well, it's called AI with a purpose. It's not AI for the sake of AI, it's AI for the sake of improving people's lives or improving the outcome of what you're trying to do. There's the application of AI must make sense from the user's perspective. And you were questioning some cases where it might not. But it must also make financial sense. So both for the user and for the provider of the service, it should make financial sense. And then thirdly, it must be safe. So the results must be of good quality. They should be auditable and consistent and unbiased. Most of our large customers, they are now asking us when we build our own models, they're saying, where do you get the data from? Can we audit it? How do we make sure that there's no bias? So the consumers, the users of the output from those models are very aware of that. And I think that's a great sign.
Well, Ulf, my next question is very important. How do you feel about pudding?
I love pudding.
You love pudding. This is excellent. How do you feel? Thank you so much for chatting to me about AI and everything. But how would you feel about staying on and having trying some pudding with me?
I will try some pudding with you.
That's wonderful. All right. That was Ulf Persson, CEO of intelligent automation company ABBYY with an extra Y.